Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Zach and I are doing a no-run-through review for the Time of Seth expansion for Tekhenu. 10 out of 10. Like, Seth, it's amazing.
You're good with it? All right.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so with this expansion, I was very, very intrigued. I did no research on it. Mm-hmm. I was intrigued because Tekhenu, out of the three, Tawantinsuyu, Teotihuacan, and then this one, it was my least favorite.
Right.
I kept it because I still like it, but the other two I just like more.
Right.
Then you and I played it so we could learn, so you could learn the base game, and then we could play with the expansion. And I do like this game more because the moving pieces started to actually make sense.
Sure.
I feel like this one out of all of them is the one where it's just like you can potentially feel completely aimless.
Yeah.
But so the Time of Seth expansion is actually just that. It's not modular like the Teotihuacan ones are. What it does is it basically adds thematically. It's that I guess Seth is the god of conflict, and you're going out and I'm guessing pillaging and attacking various areas.
Right.
In the name of Seth. And it's kind of a small area control, kind of, for the different regions, the six different regions on the board, as well as another way to get resources. But it also included different colored dice that, in addition to using them for their god action, either gave you a bunch of priests or gave you a bunch of soldiers. The priests were used to get these artifact cards, and the soldiers were used to basically build buildings.
Right.
What do you think of the Seth expansion?
It was fine.
Yeah.
I could easily leave or take it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything magical.
That's kind of where I'm at as well. I do like it. I do think it is another avenue because it's so easy to get soldiers.
Right.
And I'm mainly going to be talking about the soldiers because I think the priests are kind of dog shit. It allows you, it feels like they wanted to try and accelerate buildings, resources, and cards. Because the cards are probably one of my favorite things about the game.
Yep.
And unless you're specifically going after Thoth, you're not touching these a whole lot.
Right.
And at least sending statues over there, you get to get 3 free cards.
Right.
Well, up to 3 by doing that. I think that can be pretty huge because not only are you still building a statue, getting you victory points, now you're getting free cards, which if your happiness is all the way up, that could be more decrees, more texts, or more blessings. Hey, okay, now I just get 3 of those.
Right.
But then it becomes a contested area for other players, because it's like, now that there's a statue there, each building you do in that column gets you 3 points.
Right.
But this is definitely one of those things that if one person's doing it, kind of like the tech tree in Lost Ruins, I feel like you're going to run away.
Right.
Like with the game, just in sheer, hey, I'm scoring a lot of points twice.
Right.
And buildings are not hard to get out.
Right.
So, I don't know if you agree or disagree, or if you just find it completely useless.
No, I kind of agree. I will say, in a game where there's already, to me, a lot of avenues of things to do, it just adds more, and it's still more fiddliness.
Yeah.
So that was my thing with this game, is it feels super fiddly. Like, the very fact that you have a rule book where it's good that every card is numbered, because you need to reference it in the book sometimes to actually even know what your card does.
Right.
And that, to me, says it can be a good game, but that just means there's too much fiddliness in it.
I think, in terms of, like, the appendix, I mean, I'll take it versus just nothing or searching throughout the rulebook.
Right.
It's not so much that the cards don't immediately tell you what they do, because it has the icons as well as the text. It's like specificities, like the one that's like, hey, perform an Anubis action. oh, well, you think that's a blessing card, so therefore you get to do that in as well as.
Right.
But because it doesn't say perform an additional Anubis action, or it's like, oh, this is actually still my turn, I just don't need the scribes for it.
Right.
Because it's a blessing, so like all the other blessings are, hey, when you do this, also do this.
Right.
When you produce, get these resources.
Right.
So it's it is just another area.
Yeah.
Like so with the soldiers, like, well, one, the colored dice, there's 2 red, 2 blue, and they're always tainted.
Right.
And there's 1 green that's always pure, but the pure die goes where it goes, and you can't use an Anubis action to take it. This game, with the expansion, made it seem heavily into you're going to be tainted a lot.
Right.
And just the way the dice can come out, a lot of your dice can just be tainted. So I think there was like one time I happened to be positive in the balancing of scales, but the rest of it was always negative.
Right.
Now, they add these blood tokens that I feel like, because of the just the sheer, like, because the red dice are 3 to 5.
Right.
So I mean,
2 to 5, right?
And to be fair, 2 to 5. Yeah, sorry. Are they 2?
Yeah, it's 3 and 4
2 to 5. There's no 1s or 6s, which I think is all right. That's pretty unique.
Sure.
I do like that they come with new starting cards, and it actually ended up paying off because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna go with no starting resources, and the tech that allowed me to modify dice for when I'm doing God action, and the fact that I started with the tech that was like, hey, 3 points per building. Didn't matter if it was my buildings, just buildings over there.
Right.
That I was basically like, I am only doing this.
Right.
I'm going to guarantee that I have bread to pay for my buildings, but I'm only doing that.
Right.
And so, because I had so much freedom, and the one artifact that I got allowed me to take a Seth action, I didn't have to rely on the dice showing up there.
Right.
And so it was almost like the game, and this is pure happenstance. I don't think but it just was in my favor.
Right.
And so when it comes to these blood tokens, I felt like I don't really care. Like, just the fact that, I mean, these are permanent. Like, so once they're in your tainted area, because blood always goes to your tainted area, it's a -1. And so it's like, by the end of the game, I had -5, because I had 5 buildings there. You're only ever going to get a max 6. Because, I mean, you can only get... I mean, I guess theoretically I could have just kept pumping into the same areas.
Right, you could have pumped in 3 more buildings, 5 more buildings.
Yeah. But because I had the way to modify dice, and that's just one of the beauties of this game, is that there are so many avenues to counteract certain things. But I was like, yeah, okay, that might cause me to be in the negative points, and at most I'll lose 3. But on the scoring thing, this building alone is just getting me 3, so I'm already now I'm still ahead.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, because I didn't. Even though I was getting what did I get by the end of the game, 17, 12, 17 points, plus the 10 for doing all the buildings. I mean, yeah, that's a huge chunk, but I felt like it was too easy, almost, to just kind of do that. Just because, I took a 4 red die, got 4 soldiers. Yeah, I'm not getting to do that immediately, but now they're there.
Right.
And then I still get to do the action. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. It wasn't rewarding. Whereas, whenever we first played this and I was doing the tech tree, that was rewarding. And building up for cards and like, okay, I need to match all these. I can score multiple decrees because I'm ramped up on here. Like, that took work. This didn't take work.
Right. And I think I enjoyed this more the first playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's the expansion. I think it's the fiddliness of it that the first time I figured out an engine, it made sense. And this one didn't.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get an engine. And one of the things, like, for the first 3 rounds, everything was tainted. We had one dice that wasn't tainted. And it's like... And I think I probably put too much weight into whether it's tainted or not.
Mm-hmm.
But again, to a certain extent, you care because if you want to be first the next 2 rounds, you need to be neutral.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily neutral. You just have to be closer to 0.
Sure.
So it's
More
like
neutral than the
if
other
I'm
person.
-9 and you're -10, yay, I'm going first.
Right.
And also the fact that starting resources or the starting cards were kind of like, hey, you kind of get priests or soldiers, and
Right, and that's it.
And granted, we did pick one specifically. I mean, you picked some that gave you some resources. I
Right.
actively picked ones with none because I was like, well, I don't need resources. I need soldiers.
Right.
But and by build, and in my mind, I was thinking, oh, when I build in those areas, it's going to be victory points, and I'm going to get the resources that I need.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's that part is fine. It almost seems like they kind of wanted to go in a similar direction with like the trees or like the temples.
Right.
A little bit. That's really just a glorified meter.
Right.
I like the fact that building a statue there is another area to put your statue. You can use any die
Right.
to do it, and you get free cards.
Right.
That's probably my favorite part of that. But then you're also penalized because it's like, oh, hey, thanks for building a statue there. Building.
Right.
6 points.
Right.
For me.
I mean, the only time you benefit is to build it after you've built all 3. And I don't know why you would build it until someone's built all 3 there.
Well, because then you get the 3 cards.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why. I built it too early.
Oh,
in that
well,
spot.
so the counter to that, because it's also you could get 3 points. Like, if you build
Sure.
there, then, you'll get lesser points, but you'll still get some.
Sure.
But then you'll get 3 points on top of that.
Right.
That would be the only reason I would say is to build it early. But then you're counteracting by not getting free cards.
Right.
And then you're just giving points to your opponent.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, man, it doesn't matter if that's your statue. Thanks, man.
Right.
Like, all right, I'll get 3 points for just building over there.
Right.
Because I didn't even feel like in a 2-player game it was ever tight. It was ever
No.
like, oh, man, I beat you to that one.
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean, yes, some of them are higher victory points. And I think also the fact that I had this
Sure.
tech, which was, I mean, we even talked about it before we even started the game. I was like, hey, which one of these is better? And you're like, oh, the dice manipulation is better. I'm like,
I mean,
okay.
especially when it's like, what, turn 1 you get that?
I know.
Like, it's the starting resource is that. It's like, well,
Right. It was super helpful.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, it could have been a crapshoot. Like, could have been
it
two
could've
shitty
been.
ones.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the Seth board.
Right.
Then we go into, I mean, we kind of talked about the dice, but then, so we talked about soldiers, and now let's go to priests.
Sure.
So the priests have artifacts.
Right.
That in the destinies, and I like this for sheer options.
Yep.
Because the 0 to 3 is kind of lame. You're really just,
Right.
I might want to break a tie, but the high 3, I never value a faith over a gold.
Right.
I never really value, unless it's the very end of the game, it's like I don't value going or breaking a tie, or really, because there's so many dice out that it's like, yeah, you took the 1 pure die. Oh, yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. So,
Right.
at least the artifacts. I mean, you had way more than I did. I had the 1 that gave me the Seth action.
I had 2. That's it.
Were they worth it? Were priests ever a thing?
I don't think so. So literally, I got this on round 2, like the second time we could buy it, and I literally was like, at the very end of the game, I guess I should use this before ending the game.
Yeah.
So
And they're one-time use.
It's
the
one-time
artifacts.
use.
So not only, how many priests did you start the game with?
2.
Oh, you didn't go up higher? Okay.
Not at the beginning of the game.
Gotcha.
So at the start of the game, I had 2 priests, and I think I ended with 10 priests, and then basically bought down.
Yeah. Okay. Because the trick to the artifacts is supposed to be the fact they instead of picking a destiny card, you pick one of these. You don't get the value of the destiny. You just get a height or a particular Ankh value, and then a one-time use ability.
Right.
But they can stack, and it's addition to your action,
Right.
which I like that.
Right.
Because, I mean, hell, like, just the one that I picked, perfect for my strategy.
Right.
It was like, oh, I'm going to do this action that gives me the soldiers that I need. Do
Right.
something else that might give me some points, and then I'm going to pop this to then spend those soldiers to then be like, oh, yay, look at that.
Right.
So, in that essence, they're powerful, that you might get some benefit for drawing or for having multiple, but
So what about the cult cards then?
the cult cards were part of the strategy, or
Right.
not the strategy, obviously. They were part of the setup.
Right.
So the starting resources. So now, because there's new starting resources, you so you'll still pick the 2, and then you have to pick one of the cult ability cards.
Right.
I thought these were fucking dumb.
So I think, and
They-
this is again why I think I struggled with this one. With this combined with your starting goal that you get for free, tries to lead you down a certain path.
Yeah.
But depending on what tech cards you get, what blessing cards you get, what dice are available, it leads, like for me, I think it led me down the wrong path.
You think so?
So I had a different one that I was going to take that was 2 points for every statue.
Okay.
And I like the statue because basically you build a statue, they're worth fairly good points, but then anytime you use those actions, I get resources.
You
I get something.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the overtime build. So I did last time. That felt like a good engine.
Right.
I had one that I thought was cool. 2 points for every gold at the end of the game. 1 point for every resource at the end of the game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had stacks here, and I was like, I have to burn them because they're worth nothing.
Right.
I was like seriously considering. It's like, so maybe you just literally just take as much as you can. And with this
Yeah.
one,
The tech that gave you excess, for tank.
what gave me extra points, I was like, I think like those two combos, honestly, I probably would have said, who cares about any buildings? Just go gather resources.
Yeah. You gotta be careful because it's like you're getting points, but then you could be negative, so then you're breaking even.
But if your dice go positive, if you pick as many positive dice as possible,
True.
then yes, you build up the tank here, but they all disappear anyway.
True.
I mean, so like I have 8 in this one right here with a 6 die, and I was still only at -3.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
on top of the I think you got like 6 points in that
Right.
one blessing card that you use.
so yes, I would agree with that, but at the same time, it's like I think with those two combinations, it would have been a different game.
Right, because also the cult card. So the one that I have is build a pillar adjacent to the edge on the temple complex, which is exactly what I did.
Right.
Like, did that, and then what they do is they give you something, but then they give your opponent something
Right.
as well. In this case, I got any resource, and then you could spend any resource for a scribe.
Yep.
And then yours, I can't remember what yours was.
Mine gave me 3 priests. So build a pillar in a row or column that had not been built in those ones.
Yeah.
And get 3 priests, and then everybody else could trade any one resource for a gold.
Right. Which also, at the same time, mine isn't limited. Mine's any edge.
Right.
Yours is first row or column, so as soon as I build one,
I lose
you
one
lose
potential.
one out of 5.
Right.
5 options.
Right.
Only for 3 priests, which once again, we've kind of talked about, yeah, the artifacts are a good alternative and you can stack them.
That's it.
But, well, I mean, theoretically, you can also spend them.
But you have to spend a die.
You have to spend a die, you have to pay 2 as well as the granite, or
No,
to get any resource. Sorry. I'm
Yeah,
saying
so you just
something
pay 2 priests and a die to get any one resource.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty much at any time I can pull a die for a resource.
Right.
Like I can't figure out like how that is more beneficial.
It's really not like, well, no, sorry. This is actually, yeah, when you build a statue. This is what you get if someone does the Seth action.
Right.
So you do have to pay the 2 priests as well as the granite cost of the statue, but then it goes there. And then anytime someone does it, you get a resource of your choice, which is good.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty good, statue of the people
Right.
area for the Seth action, especially because that's all I was doing.
Right.
So that just gives you freedom. But yeah, that's giving you priests. And then also, I mean, since I didn't care about resources, I just have some to burn, and it's like, oh, a gold. Thanks, man.
Right.
Like, so the cult ability cards I didn't find were all that great.
Yeah.
So there's a few more, like Cult of Tuartet. I hate these god names. Build a workshop or a query. You get 3 soldiers, and then your opponents get 2 faith.
Right.
Cult of Nephthith. The names all sound like someone has a lisp. Build a house in Seth area. That would have been amazing for me.
Right.
Gain 2 population, you get a bread. Place a statue for the gods. You get 2 happiness, I get a population. Cult of Amun, reach a triangle, get a gold, your opponent gets a soldier.
Okay.
And then whatever the other 2 that we kind of skipped over. But
Right.
I really feel like what your opponents get is better than what you get.
Right, 100%.
Except for maybe the one that was build a building there. It was like, I think it was like a gold or something. It's like, oh, okay.
Right.
So it all feels like they wanted to open up the game more. And I think the Seth expansion did. Like, it's a new way. I mean, honestly, since it is so easy to kind of do, you do
Right.
get your buildings out relatively quicker versus... Because you don't have to hope for
Right.
dice to, good dice to pop up there. You have some options over there. You could potentially get 4 buildings out.
Yeah. So you
And the
bring that
flickers.
up, and that's interesting because that frees up the buildings, but there's no spot but there's only one spot on everywhere else that does. Like, you already have another spot that does buildings. So on this one, there's 2 spots that do buildings.
Yeah.
Everything else is basically 1 spots. This is the only spot to do statues. This is the only spot to do columns. That's the only spot to do tech. That's the only spot to basically get more of those tokens and increase happiness.
Scribes, yeah, and increase your happiness, you're right.
And so, yes, you added up another building spot, but that means you gave 3 buildings and not any more statues or columns.
But the buildings are meant to be, I think, the area control part
Right.
of the game. You're controlling for the columns here.
Yep.
You're controlling for points over there, and then you're also controlling for spots because you get points based off, or you get resources based off, where you place it, as well as victory points. So it seems like, the buildings are definitely like a focal point.
Right.
Because they don't really do anything by themselves. They have an upkeep for you to pay. You can potentially get maybe 2 points in the first scoring, but 10 points by the end.
Right.
But that's 10 points in addition to 30 everywhere else.
Right.
So I like the fact that the buildings are there, but you're right, they just added another one on that side.
Right.
I should also mention that I did like how the dice came out over here. I because they're such high points that the dice do become a big point of contention. Because for anyone who doesn't know, at the beginning of the game, 2 gray dice go over there, and then each rotation, you for the first shaded area, if there's less than 2. If there's a gray die you roll it, pick it, and it goes over there. So actually the first shaded area could potentially have 1 less die. And there were multiple times where there actually wasn't dice over there.
Right, a lot of times.
So it's kind of like a first come, first serve.
Right.
And then once they're gone, it's just like, oh crap. That's kind of my whole strategy. Like, if that never came out, if you took 1 die and I took 1 die, then I'm not getting a lot of points because now I need to hope that gray dice come out. So it does add a little bit more area control, because I like this part of the area control. Like, I like the fact that this temple over here is like, okay, like, yeah, I'm going to put it at the front because I want those 3 points, but I'm not getting a lot in terms of resources and production. I like that balance.
Yep. No, that's actually probably my favorite spot. Like, this side is probably my favorite spots.
Yeah, that is true. You do statues and buildings a lot. I like this area over here, but it's a lot of work. That's actually the
I'll say multiple times. Like, I think almost every single time I was just about to build this 3, you built it.
And I would build it before
immediately.
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's the game, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
Because I wasn't doing it even for the resource. I was just doing it for victory points.
Right.
And trying to do my cult
So,
power.
like this one, right? I literally spent the turn before to get the paper to do it, and then you're like, oh.
I was like, I got it. I guess I'll take it just for the 3 points. I have the excess resources.
Because I could. Like, I had the resources to build it.
Right.
I was like, that's kind of a waste of an action.
Yeah, it was mainly... Well, so the other thing the Seth board brings is Conquest Tiles. Right. And the Conquest Tiles, I think, was their attempt to try and add variety to this area.
Sure.
Because the Conquest Tiles modify the sections over here. And when you build a building, you take one, put it over here, and now it becomes a new spot to where if you put a pillar location on it, it's a new thing.
Right.
It's like you can turn the 3 faith location into a gold and a bread. You can turn it into drawing 3 or 2 texts and picking one. So the only reason I built that one on there because I placed that, got 2 technologies.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'll get a cup. I'll get 4 points for that.
Right.
I'll get 2 texts.
I understood why you did it.
Right,
It makes
right.
sense.
But I really don't know how I feel about because it's like, yeah, you're just covering up something, but it's like at that point because not everyone is really doing that.
Right.
You're not like, I never felt like I was taking something from you or, removing something from me. And it's like, well, I mean, I could place it there because I want to build that and then I'll get something better.
Right.
But that's a lot of like forward thinking for something that I don't think is worth it.
Right.
So overall, it's fine.
That was literally what I was thinking. Is like, it's fine.
Honestly, though, yeah, the first time that you and I played this, going high on population and happiness, competing for these, trying to get higher endgame scoring, competing for this, competing for that. There's enough competing.
Yeah.
Already on top of the shit ton of cards that you get. I didn't need that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Like, because I don't even think talking about it, it's more like, yeah, you don't really need it.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. Like, it's fine. But I think also at the same time, even if you were competing with me for that, I don't think it would have been as exciting. Like, it would have felt kind of like what I feel like competing for this, where it's like, yeah, okay, you're gonna, because this is almost always a wash.
Right.
It's like you get 6, I get 6, unless you place a thing there. But then in the statues, I mean, you have to place 2. So it just actually kind of you split focus.
Right.
Because either you want to get the victory points here, but then you're not increasing your production if you put them over there.
Right.
I think the only thing I actually like about that the more is I kind of like the variety of putting them over there, not placing them, really. I don't give a fuck where they're really going. I just like the fact that you can change up that board. And I like the statue Thoth because it gives you more cards. Yeah, I kind of wish the dice, the new colored dice, I wish they were better. I like the fact that there's different colored dice and it affects soldiers and stuff like that, but it's like...
the fact that they're always tainted.
They're always tainted, and then there's one green, and it's like, ooh.
Right.
The artifacts, take or leave. I think they're a lot more situational.
Yep.
Than
they should be.
This would have been way better is if you got your decree.
Yes.
And you also paid the scribe for that. Because then this Spear of Ra might actually persuade you to get... It's like, I don't really want a faith, but I want that ability.
Right.
Versus picking one and you're like, okay. It's like, yeah, you beat me in a tiebreaker and now you can take a Seth action, but I'm still going to take the one that gives me a gold because that seems a lot more valuable. So the fact that it's one or the other, don't like that. And I really don't like giving my opponent shit.
Right.
The fact that these are here, I like the fact that if you, in a 2-player game, you're the first one to build you see me going for cards and you build a statue there before I do. So now you're making me go, damn, okay, every time I do that, he's going to get a scribe.
Right.
Shit. That's already enough because at least what I'm potentially gaining, I don't view you getting a scribe as beating that out.
Right.
I don't want an additional thing to give you more stuff.
Right.
I need to dig the starting cards out of the trash because I threw them away because I'm like, no, this is going to be good. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving the time of Seth?
5.
5?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give it a 4.
Right.
I think it lessens the base game.
So the base game was going to be a 6 for me.
Okay.
So it did lessen it by 1.
Gotcha. So it was a 7 originally?
No, so the base game I thought was a 6.
Oh, okay. Oh, so...
And so Seth brought it down to a 5.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're combining both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I mean, the Seth one is a 5.
Yeah. I think Time of Seth, I'm actually going to give it a 4. Just because I don't like any one thing really well.
Right.
I like little aspects of certain things.
Right.
But I think Tekhenu, what did I give it the first time? I think I gave it a 7.
Okay.
I can't.
So
Maybe I gave it an 8.
So it went down 3 or 4 points?
I'm rating just the expansion.
Right.
Time of Seth is a 4.
Okay.
It's a 4 because I actually don't. I think it makes Tekhenu worse.
Right.
By playing them together. Tekhenu, I guess by themselves, or combining them both, would drop it down quite a bit, probably to a 5. But Tekhenu by itself is a 7.
Right.
Tawantin Suyu and Teotihuacan are 9s, 10s.
Right.
Like they're fantastic. But it's very weird because it's been I'd have to really think of an expansion that I thought worsened the base game. Because normally people say expansions fix. Oh, you hate this about the game, get the expansion, it fixes that.
Sure.
Fine, I already have a problem with that because your base game was shit. Or the expansion enhances the game.
Right.
It's very weird to look back and be like, I don't want this at all. Now I have to dig through my trash because I'm an idiot. And I was like, no, the starting cards are going to be great. Huh.
I'm trying to think of an expansion that made the game worse. Everdale's Pearlbrook for me did it.
I don't think it made it worse. It was just there. If someone were to play Everdell and Pearlbrook, I wouldn't be like, oh god, no. I'd still be like, oh, this is still great because it's so charming. And Pearlbrook is like, oh yeah, I can do something over there. Yeah, you have a Frog Meeple that only can go there, and it's
right.
It's definitely the worst of all the other expansions.
Right.
But actively, if someone's like, you want to play Tekhenu? I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like fun. We're playing with the Time of Seth expansion. Actually, maybe I don't want to play.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Which is a shame because it has my name in it, and I'm sad now. That's another reason. This game should have been fucking great. But it's not now. I hate you. So, that's our thoughts on the Time of Seth expansion. Let us know what you think of the expansion in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.